reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is The Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
Hey, what's up everybody? It's The Horror Deconstruction. I'm your host, Komp, for this episode. Before we go into any reviews, let's give a like, share, and subscribe and let people know that you listen to the show. Hit that thumbs up icon and let's get listening. So today's film is VENECIAFRENIA, 2021, released 2022, directed by Alex de Iglesia. A group of Spanish tourists in Venecia will find themselves fighting for their lives against locals that are not too keen on foreigners. Directed by Alex de Iglesia, written by Jorge Guirichaveria, Alex de Iglesia, starring Ingrid Garcia Johnson, Silvia Alonso, Goisi Blanco, and a whole bunch of other people. I was made aware of this film probably about couple months ago. I saw the teaser trailer for it, and I really do like Alex de Iglesia. I like his films. I like particularly Dia de la Bestia, which is the Day of the Beast, which is a really, really great film about two guys that are trying to stop the rebirth of, I guess, the Antichrist in it. And also a really fun movie called Witching and Bitching that he did. So the two things about those two films that Danny and I enjoyed is that it's heavy on characters. And it's something that's very rare in cinema nowadays, where you get to like a character that's not already has some sort of built-in television show behind them, or some sort of lore, books, or anything like that. To see a film, his films like that, like Witching and Bitching and Day of the Beast, the characters are very much 80s style, sort of like John Carpenter's, where you get to know a group of characters, or Shane Black kind of characters. So those two films I totally suggest you go check out. I also saw The Last Circus, which was a movie that I had read about a lot, and I liked it, but I didn't think it was that great. But just the art design and production design-wise on all three of those films are incredible. And he also has a TV show streaming called 30 Coins, which I read a lot about. People are just saying it's incredible. I think he did one American film called The Oxford Murders with Elijah Wood. I don't know much about that film. It seems like a kind of a typical dark slasher or dark mystery film. A movie called The Bar that I believe is on Netflix that I hear is good as well. So he's a pretty prolific director. So we're moving on to this one. I saw the teaser for this movie a while back, and it has these characters in like a jester, Venetian kind of, Italy, old school masquerade look to them, right? And it had this really good song to it. I'm not really a huge fan of the band Diantwood. They had a song called Happy Go Sucky, which features in the promo, and then it also features in the film. That's probably one of the highlights of the movie. This film itself, which is about 5 students, or actually just young people from Spain, having a vacation in Venetia, and as soon as they step foot on, first of all, let's trail it back a little bit. The movie starts out with a random slashing. So just from the trailer alone, I didn't know if this was a period piece film, because it focused heavily on the jester character. I don't know if this was a time traveling thing. I don't know if this was a period piece horror film. But from the get-go, we see that, because I went straight to the movie, I just barely remember the teaser. And this film starts out with two tourists that are taking photos of the area, and they're speaking in English, so I thought this movie was in English for some reason. And they get killed by this jester character. And the people that are, all the tourists that are there, see this happen in real time. He beats one of the guys to death with his own camera, and everybody's clapping because they think it's a show. And this jester's like, "Oh, it's a show, haha, it's so funny." Everybody's laughing along and going, yeah, and these people are like dead on the floor, and he's dragging these dead bodies behind this door, and these people all think it's a big show, and they just kind of go on with their lives. They don't really notice anything. Cuts to, I think the highlight of the film is actually the opening credits, because it's done with this kind of giallo style artwork. Looks like comic booky, but also heavily photoshopped, really weird and cool visuals for opening credits. It really is the best part of the film for me, just the opening credits alone. And then we get into this sort of generic, not too good slasher movie. It's not a horrible movie, but it really is not a continuation of his work from like Witching and Bitching or Day of the Beast. Like, I really did not care about the characters in this film. They were surprisingly very stock characters for his type of films. I have not seen 30 Coins, although I've heard it's good. I don't know if it has characters that are stock like this. It makes me think that there was not that much budget in this movie compared to those two films, because those films are incredible looking and they have fantastic visual sense. This is like somebody, a director of his stature, going on autopilot, which is really disturbing, because this guy obviously clearly has talent, and unless he just took this for money, because I think this was produced for Amazon Prime, I'm not sure, but I remember seeing that in the credits, so maybe they just gave him a fraction of a budget that he's used to. But there is good production value, as in sets and stuff like that, and the costumes of the villains, and I think that's where it comes from. There's a big set piece at the end inside of an abandoned theater where there's like curtains of these humongous drawings on them and stuff like that. It's really beautiful looking. The villains look really good. There's a guy with the plague doctor mask. It's like a really interesting kind of gothic version of a plague doctor. There's obviously the jester, and there's also a woman with like a harlequin mask. And the main characters, when they're partying in Venetia at night, because they're supposed to be, this whole film is about like the ugly tourists. It's not just the ugly American tourists, although a couple of American tourists do get killed in this film. They're not the focus. It's these Spanish actors. So the movie's in Spanish, and partially also in Italian and stuff like that in Venetian. The production look of the sort of Venetian clothing that they wear, this sort of masquerade ball kind of clothing, is fantastic. They go into this hidden club in the film that looks like it features that song by Diane Wood that's incredible. So I'm telling you I'm just telling you the good parts, and it's not many, because this film kind of moves off in a quick pace, but I was walking back and forth to it because it wasn't really holding my attention that well, because it becomes like a generic cop thing. It has like feelings of The Wicker Man, where there's like a lot of people that are in on this sort of conspiracy. The slasher element is a strange part of the film because it's not, I think, part of the overall storyline. So when they can't kill off main characters, we'll just jump back to another scene where some random characters get killed. And there's people who get throat slashed again in front of many tourists, and they still laugh and they clap. And there's no follow-up. There's no people kind of going, hey, wait a minute, this lady's not really moved. She's still dead. You know what I mean? So it's weird. It seems like a very quick slapdash storyline. Like I can't tell if this is just the Iglesia collecting a check. I don't know if I should spoil the film for you to experience it yourself, but it's not very entertaining in the point that the characters aren't interesting. Like I said before, kills are pretty bloodless. The production design is good. The acting is all good from everybody. I enjoy particularly all the performances, but I didn't necessarily give a crap about anybody in the movie. I thought that the finale was a little bit rushed. Like they had no idea what to do with it. Like it really boggles the mind at how quick they sort of put this. It reads like almost like a 1950s comic book where things just happen to fall in place. Like one person goes missing, and they gave actually a good, interesting reason why the one character who goes missing, he can't seem to show up in any photos or anything like that because he's kind of disconnected himself from being followed, and that comes back to bite him on the ass. A really sudden movement of cops invading this place to look for the bad guys, and they're taking along one of the main characters with them, which is totally horse crap because you just can't randomly, whatever, maybe it's different in Italy over there. But I thought all in all it was a pretty lackluster affair of a film. It's a lackluster film when I watch and I don't actually invite Danny to watch it with me because I don't want to waste his time. And like we say on the show, you can be a bad movie, you can be a really great movie, but if you're sort of a boring, middling film, then that might be the most offensive of all. And that's what this film unfortunately feels like to me. So I think Alex de la Iglesia kind of slept walk, and he just sort of collected a check and made something that he could do really quickly, which is fine, but that's not the type of film that I expect from him as a director, and it's disappointing to say the least. I think that I'm going to look at his other films, obviously, because also another great film that he did in the past, which was Mutant Action, a fantastic movie that also had great characters in it. It was as 80s, 90s as you can get. So watch that movie too, with Day of the Beast, and also Witching and Bitching. So, like, those three films are great. So if you want to see the greatness of this director, you can check out those films. And I haven't seen really much anything else besides The Last Circus and that. But I will check those out. But I gotta say, this is a skippable movie of his. I know it's one of his more recent films, but it really is not something that is even just to throw on in the background. It just feels like a cash collect movie. And I don't know what else I can add to this film other than good looks, good acting, boring murders in the movie, kind of lame reasoning for why the killers are doing what they're doing, fantastic production design, not very funny. He usually has this sort of comical whimsy flair to his movies. Not necessarily The Last Circus, but his other movies, Witching and Bitching certainly, and Mutant Action, are very funny, cool movies. This is devoid of all of that, and it just feels like a hollow film. The main actress is a woman who is supposed to be getting married. I think it's Isa. Her name is Ingrid Garcia Johnson. She's really good. Here, now, if you want to know what my idea of is, it's a skip film. It's a 5 out of 10. Admiring some Venetian masks, but unfortunately getting the pointy end of a saber then. And I believe that you'll have a better time watching his older films than watching this, because it is a half-hearted slasher that's fairly bloodless and boring. So with that, thank you for listening to The Hardy Construction.